Hey, everybody. Hope you can hear me. Uh, what a day. A historic day. Better make sure this is working because I'm changing up all the technology. And first, let's get into it. At TNT Tesla, Sean Donnelly, thank you all for coming. A historic day. I have sound. Good. And this little me in the bottom right-hand corner. Hello, everybody. It's easier for me to see the slides. So much to talk about today. Internet's going wild. Crazy things are happening. Bitcoin, literally from top to bottom today, has shot up $8,000. But if you take from the very top bottom, it's actually a lot higher, nearly $10,000. We get into that too. Let's just jump in. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the community. It has been an emotional ride. And sadly, as usual, we lost troops along the way. I tried my best over the last 2 weeks to hold hands, keep people calm, share what I do, tell them the bull market wasn't over. But no, we actually lost 10%. Hard to believe, but let's get into it anyway. You legends are here, and thank you for everybody for coming. I'm exhausted, and this is not financial advice. All the questions come from Patreon. Thank you for helping this channel. First question is from Fish Lizard Man. It's been a while since I've seen you, buddy. Last post was a year ago, but this is regarding Bitcoin, and this is regarding the top and bottom indicator. I'll share an update on that later within Patreon. But if TABI maxes out and the 4-year cycle repeats, no guarantee it will, is it advisable to support always holding on to some Bitcoin? And what kind of percentage do you think would be appropriate to always maintain? And should you sell it all and move on to a faster horse like Tesla, etc.? Very brilliant question. Glad you asked. And it's complicated. This is not easy, but I'm going to answer it using a process, using data. And let's first of all, let's talk about what just happened. Okay. This is insane. I've been waiting 6, 7, 8 years for this golden rule thing. And I hope people don't construe this as religion. I don't care what God you have or whatever, but God candle is a technical term in the Bitcoin world for a candle on one day that stretches $10,000. Today, historically, we saw it. Remember, this is my time zone. This is also using the Coinbase chart. I think it also showed up on Kraken as well. And the bottom today was $85,010. And it hit $95,000. We had a $10,000 candle, $10,000 candle. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because this will trigger global game theory FOMO, ladies and gentlemen. This is what the world is looking at and thinking, oh, wow, we thought it was dead. And now it's alive. Remember, price drives a lot of excitement and action out there in the space. So that's the first big piece of news. Second, sadly, this is happening. Not sadly, fortunately, but a couple of things. There's rumors out there. We don't know what's real, what's not. But one of them is Trump could soon announce a 0% capital gains tax on crypto trading and investing in the US. If this were to happen, oh my God, I'd actually stop making videos and I'd be trading 24/7 because taxes have a huge impact on how I invest. So that'd be exciting. Second of all, the strategic Bitcoin reserve is back on the table. A huge tweet storm, and somebody knew about it. Somebody made $200 million in less than 12 hours by making a big bet on Bitcoin and ETH, 50x long at the bottom, which actually is not bad. A lot of people perp at the bottom. It's a good time to perp. It was pretty clear we were desperately oversold on many assets. But now, this means that there have been discussions probably behind closed doors, and people made a big bet on that. But there's more. This one is the crypto market right now. And Asia is asleep, ladies and gentlemen. Asia's asleep. And when they wake up, they're going to see what's going on. And that will add more fuel to the fire. All the nation states around the world, I'm actually writing a paper, I'll do it, put it out in Substack, about the game theory trigger that just happened. What happens next is profound. It has a huge implication for global fiats around the world and Bitcoin and how to play the game. You've got to get in early. That's the whole beauty of game theory. When I first studied game theory at Wharton 25 years ago, it melted my brain. But now, against the backdrop of Bitcoin, it's as clear as day, and it's going to happen. So let's get back into the news and answer to your question. And this is a historic day, so I'm doing a very large preamble ahead of time. Hope that's okay. This is the sad news too. I made a poll 2 hours ago. 3,000 people responded. It's probably a lot higher now because I scraped this an hour ago. This is after 1 hour. 3,000 people responded. 9.8% sold the bottom. They capitulated at the bottom. No matter what I said, no matter how many hands I held, they capitulated. They thought the bull market was over. And believe me, if you read the type of crap in crypto Twitter or whatever other places and listen to the morale of people, you'd be downtrodden and brokenhearted. But remember, it's not over. In fact, you could argue it hasn't even begun yet. So anyway, there's going to be, it's funny, when the market's full, there's a little bit of psychology here. People get very upset. Really, really, really upset. But you know what makes them even more upset? Is when the market goes up after they've capitulated. It's like it couldn't be worse for the psyche. And remember, look at the data, study, do not be shaken out. All right? Anyway, moving on. The other thing that I will talk about too is the impact of taxes and selling, because this has a big implication for your question. Should you sell at all? So for example, my cost basis in Bitcoin is 12,000. I did most of my accumulation between 2017 and 2021. And then I stopped buying and I buy other things after certain prices. That's just my nature. If I was to sell, imagine I'm a global citizen and I calculated the average capital gains taxes on the planet, depending on where you are. Some places it's 0, some places it's 50%. It's all over the place. Some places it looks at short-term capital gains. Some places see it as income. So if you're in California and you're paying federal tax and you're paying 14% state tax and you have a short-term capital gain in crypto, you could be paying 54%. And that's just the reality. So it has a big implication. But I took the average of all the capital gains taxes across the planet. It's about 32.5%. If your cost basis of Bitcoin is 12,000 and you sell at 100 grand, you need the reversion. We'll talk about mean reversion today a lot. You need the price of Bitcoin to fall back down to 71,400 to recoup. And you need to be able to nail that bottom when it happens. Okay. And not be afraid thinking it's going to go lower. And by the way, 70,000 is confluent with where I believe the floor of Bitcoin price could be, because that's typically where it is right before the US presidential election, which is also on a 4-year cycle. So this is a long-winded way of explaining to you, don't get too cute. You never, ever sell all your Bitcoin because of what could happen next. And by the way, I have this tax model. I'll post it on Patreon later today. The team is going to work on it now. Clean it up. You'll be able to plug in your own asset, find out your cost basis, break even, and tax rate, and discover, what it takes for you to sell. But the point is, you do not sell all your Bitcoin ever. And we have a thing called the profit-taking model, which I'll show you in a little bit as well, as to what it means and how you can use it. And in fact, those people that use the profit-taking model on MicroStrategy made a killing. They basically sold all the way up to 550 and got out. Now the key is to get back in. And of course, account for your taxes. But I did share this late last night on Tesla versus Bitcoin. And I've been talking a lot about which is the faster horse, because that was your question. It depends on your allocations. That's why I share my portfolio every week, sometimes twice a week if there's a big change. And it's critical to have the proper allocations. You don't go all in on one asset. You diversify. But my level of diversification is very extreme. It's like 4 assets, 95%. I am in 4 assets. That's it. And 2 of them are the same thing, believe it or not. But the point is here, which is the faster horse over the next 3 to 5 years? Well, Elon Musk tweeted yesterday, it will require solid execution, but he believes Tesla will give you 1,000% gain in the next 5 years. All right. Which is actually in line with my bear target for 2032, but he's talking the next 5 years, which goes out to 2029. So 3 years ahead of time. I sandbag everything a lot. The point is, what's the faster horse? We don't know. If a Bitcoin strategic reserve kicks off and Bitcoin shoots to $1 million, that's why you never sell your Bitcoin. You keep some. You take some off the table and you allocate accordingly. And that's how you play the game. So more on this later. Thank you for the question. Next question from Lisa T1. If you have been holding ETH for years, but waiting to get out, hoping to be at least in profit, still underwater though 30%, would you rip the band-aid off and switch to Sol or Bitcoin at this point? Sol is also down, so it's a good time to swap. Absolutely, it is, Lisa. Sol, a lot of people are stacking at 128, 130 just hours ago. Sadly, Solana has gone up quite a bit. Solana is up at $175. It's moved up over $30 in hours, everybody. That's how risk happens fast. You've heard me saying it for years. Thank you, Richard Bratt, and shout out to the mods as well. It's crazy, but the point is, let's look at some data. All right, ETH is going nowhere fast in a bull market. You can't even see the line of the actual transactions on a daily. It's flat. All right, all the newer technology, which you've been talking about for years, is running faster. You know, Solana, of course, is the king of the hill, but you have other chains like Sui, which I also own. They are doing far more than all the legacy chains combined. Old tech, I'll repeat it for the 10,000th time, is not going to make it unless they can take their 3,000 developers and find a way to change the wings on the aircraft while it's in the air, which is also, from a technology perspective, extremely unlikely. This thing is being destroyed. Also, adoption, flat in the bull market. We have the same number of daily active users on Ethereum as we did in 2021, despite the fact hundreds of millions of people have come to crypto. And guess where they are? Yep, they're on the chain that does 75% of all the users and all the transactions, etc., which is Solana. No secret here. Do you wait for Ethereum to recover and for transactions to recover and for adoption to happen? No, because it's a horrible chain to use. The user experience is disgusting. It's infuriating. I've got money on a MetaMask somewhere since 2021. I can't even get it off because I couldn't be bothered. It's a pain in the ass. So if anybody wants that wallet, let me know. I'll give it away. Anyway, let's look at some data. Solana annihilates ETH across all metrics. Speed, and this speed is going north of 1 million TPS real soon. Okay, speed is 1.6 million times more. Transactions 4,000% more. Daily active users 900% more. Daily transactions over daily active users 330% more. Average fees 500,000% less. Daily fees for the chain 50% more, despite Ethereum being much. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And what's even more ridiculous is Sol does infinitely more than Ethereum, but it's only trading at 26% of the ETH market cap. So Lisa, not financial advice, rip that band-aid off, okay? Yes, ETH might go to $5,000, but if it does, the crypto market cap will be 10 trillion and Solana will be 700, 800 bucks. So it'll be the faster horse. And that's just the math, everybody. Hey, Bitcoin broccoli. So let's get into some more stories. Delusional Husky. It's been a while since your last post. By the way, the team chooses people who haven't posted in a while. So we don't go back to this well of the people that post every single week. So we spread the wealth as best we can. So thank you to the team that does all of this for us. And I'm not driving the bus here. The team is. Delusional Husky. Miners, Riot, Beanspark, etc. When would you sell, assuming you still have these in your portfolio? Yes, I share all I do, all my allocations in real time. First of all, I did the unthinkable last week, okay? You know I haven't been a fan of Marathon. Forever, they are not the most effective and efficient miner. But you know what they did? They started following the MicroStrategy playbook. That completely changed my thesis. And I bought last week when the NAV premium was 1.09, which basically means you're paying a 9% premium on their business. And you're getting a big bag of Bitcoin as well. Okay, so the Bitcoin price was beaten down. NAV premium was basically down at parity. It was a freaking no-brainer for me. And I knew earnings would be incredible, and they were. So I can't remember what the exact numbers were, just absolutely mind-blowing. The proxies were destroyed across the board. And anyway, I jumped into Marathon. So I added a position. Now, I am waiting for Bitcoin to spike before I exit the miners. And that's always been the plan. You could have argued, I should have sold Queen Spark in the 20s. I hedged it, didn't hedge it enough. We'll talk more about that in a minute too. I think I sold the $20 calls for $3. So I still have a Clean Spark at a credit from selling options and calls. I actually don't have any skin in the game for Clean Spark. And I will do the same thing with these other assets as well. The question is, though, would it make sense to sell the miners here? Let's get into the charts and see what they say. Before we do, I want to talk about Marathon as well. The price to earnings ratio for Marathon as a mining business is 9.64. It's under 10. PEG ratio is under 1. It's insanely cheap for a company that has a huge Bitcoin bag as well. It's like you're buying a good business and, of course, a huge bag of Bitcoin. It's just, it became my new proxy. And I didn't think I'd be buying Bitcoin miners in the middle of the bull. And here I am. So shout out to the miner fans. That's me, but my goals are not your goals too. I was looking around every day. I desperately look for alpha. This was the best risk reward that I could find. Anyway, let's look at the chart. Marathon on the ATR model. The red shadow area is the bear market, but look where it's been. All the miners, you can pull them all up. They all look the same. They're all beaten to hell, literally beaten to hell. And I know it's a cutthroat business. I always say that, but here we are. We have Marathon at level 0.5 on the ATR. Will it rebound? Yes. Will it get to level 2? Yes. When? I'm not sure, but I'm waiting for that moment. That's why I'm in it. If we look at Clean Spark, same thing. It's at level 0.7 on the ATR. Will it get back to 6? Maybe not. Will it get back to 2 or 3? Yes, it will. And we just have to wait. We need Bitcoin to spike. We need confidence to come back to the space before we get into this too. RIOT, same thing, level 0.5, beaten to hell. They all look the same. I'll go back. Same. Well, this one, Clean Spark did have a big spike, but literally they're all identical patterns, all beaten to hell. And I'm just waiting for that spike. So I will hold, and the minute I sell, you'll be the first to know. And just another quick recap, everybody. These are my actual allocations. Miners, I am now 1.7% allocated to miners after adding to Marathon. So I always say keep your miner allocation under 5%. I've also stressed that for years. They're very, very risky. It's a cutthroat business. And Bitcoin's at 94,200. Woohoo! Whack me. So I hope that helps. Next question from Kung Fu Panda. I love that name. If the bull market's nearing its end, maybe 80% done, and a recession looms, how do you see Tesla stock holding up with its AI innovations on the horizon? Could breakthroughs like a full FSD rollout and Optimus robots keep it steady through a downturn, or might it stagnate for a few years as it has done before? So first of all, everybody, do not confuse crypto bull markets with stock bull markets. There's always something in a bull market at any given time, okay? Not everything runs the same course. But let's look at why. Well, first of all, when you say 80% done, that's my term for the crypto bull market is 80% done. But remember, the last 20% is the most explosive. So buckle in, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be fun. Now, let's talk about Tesla. What's going on? First of all, this actually I shared earlier this morning, and I didn't realize how relevant it was to this question. But the point is, the big spenders out there in the world have a lot of wealth. And this is an important thing to note as well. A lot of people think, oh, there's going to be a recession and spending will stop. Well, if you're in the business of selling luxury items, that doesn't happen. Okay. And the stunning thing about this chart here is you can see the top 10% of US income earners basically control 50% of the spend. And they're the people that typically buy things like Teslas and will be buying robots and, solar panels and energy storage units and stuff like that. And that's stunning. But the average household expenditure in the United States is $488,000. I calculated that myself this morning too. That's 132 million households. And you divide, what was this? I can't remember, but $65 trillion by that number of households, and you get how much is being spent. So even if there is a recession, remember the top 10% always have money. In fact, I also just shared a top list of billionaires as well earlier today on Patreon. So check that out if you're interested. Now, the tailwinds for Tesla. First of all, FSD unsupervised is coming. I literally drove last night. I was so exhausted. I was absolutely falling asleep at the wheel 5 times, but the car did it. So as long as I kept my head steady and pretended I was looking out the window, I could sleep. And I know that please don't ever do this at home, ladies and gentlemen. It's very dangerous, but I was just exhausted because I wasn't able to sleep very much this week. And driving at night, kind of scary. Anyway, the car did it. The FSD on the Cybertruck is unbelievable. It has gotten more. It's far better than me at driving right now anyway. And I wouldn't leave home without it. But the Model 2 is coming too. And the reason this is profound is you will have a sub $30,000 car that drives itself. Nobody, no car company will be able to compete. Ford Motor Company said they're working in their Skunks Work project that's going to come out in 2027, 2028, which means maybe 2030, of a new affordable EV, but it will not have FSD. They are wasting their time. Shout out to Jim Farley. You're wasting your time, brother. Do something else. Perp crypto or something. You're just wasting your time. Tesla are so far ahead. And so are the Chinese. We'll talk about the Chinese in a minute too. This puppy is also launching in June. It's probably not a good photo. The gold looks a lot better in real life, but that's coming as well. Cybercabs are rolling around autonomously driving. And Optimus job postings explode. 75 new job listings for the Tesla bot compared to just 1 5 weeks ago. All right. And AI, robotics, dojo, FSD, training infrastructure is all exploding too. They have an insurmountable lead in AI, compute, technology, factories. Nobody can touch them. But you can pretend like BYD is coming for them. They're not going to make it. I've heard that for 10 years. They're still not going to make it. Now, back to the answer your question. I do believe, and I've said this before, Tesla may not be interest rate proof, but it's definitely recession proof. And if you think about the top 10% that spend over $500,000 a year, they will, if they can get their hands on a robot, they will be buying them. And they'll be buying self-driving cars, and they'll be buying fleets of Cybercabs if they can get their hands on them as well. Don't worry about Tesla. They will be just fine in a recession. Okay? And, by the way, I forgot to mention, if you think about a recession, we've been in many of them for the last 4 years. Many. Real estate, commercial real estate, manufacturing, you name it, travel. It's been really bad. So, anyway, the moral of the story here is don't think about bull markets encapsulating everything or recessions encapsulating everything. That's just the big learning today. Next question, which ties into the previous one too, from Good Idea. And by the way, thank you all for the likes. It's very important that this message gets out because I'm going to say some very profound things. Not that I haven't already, but this is very important. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world, and I am here to try help you prepare for the future. It is I do nothing but study the impact of AI. It is now 20 to 30% of my day to try identify what's coming next. I call it AI impact. It will have a huge impact, okay? And one thing I'm good at is forecasting the future. I may be off by a year or so, but directionally, I'm always right. Now, Good Idea. With robots coming and taking all the jobs away, wouldn't there be backlash against Optimus and Elon Musk like we're seeing in manufacturing jobs going to China? So this backlash, the backlash you have to understand is very clear over the weekend. The backlash is manufacturing groups of people are hiring actors to protest against Elon Musk and Tesla factories. They're giving them signs. They're telling them what to say. It's all contrived, everybody. It's not real. Ask Jeff Lutz, and he's on it. Let's talk about China and the future. This is, again, something I shared over a week ago within the community, and that is that China already leads everything in this new world, whether you're talking industrial robots, electric vehicles, batteries, LiDAR. Now, when I say they lead, they have the most players. They don't have the best products. So I want that to be very clear. Drones, if you look at their drone shows, it's unbelievable. And by the way, it's only a matter of time before those drones become militarized. Be very afraid of that. Autonomous vehicles. They do have some, but again, nothing like, if you look at the FSD videos of what's happening in China right now, mind-blowing. AI, semiconductors, you name it. They lead in all smartphones. They lead in all of these plays. And some of these companies actually have fingers in all these pots. All right. The West is not ready for how far ahead China actually is right now. And I hope people aren't scared by this, but they literally, they are practically unstoppable. This is, I think I referred to this as a self-reinforcing juggernaut that cannot be stopped, everybody. While people are worried about, I guess, jobs and terms and industries and silly stuff, they're not looking at this. This is alarming. If you are a Western nation, and you think you work in your little bubble of your own little country or own little region or territory, you don't know what's coming. This is coming, and they will dominate. And that's what they plan. The Chinese think in 20, 25-year horizons. They don't think quarter to quarter. They play the long game, and they like to win. Also, China already dominates most manufacturing. Look at solar panels. 95% of all solar panels on the planet are made in China. China has also locked up all the precious soils and minerals and metals out there in the world. They will be making everything. And they know in order for them to compete and dominate the world and grow their GDP faster than anybody else, they need robots at scale. And that's why the government is investing very heavily in the leading robot companies. So forget Elon Musk and Tesla. This is what you need to be really worried about. And they are doing it fast, very fast. The world will be very different next year, 2 years from now. Also, Elon Musk is not the scapegoat. What I mean by this is even the WEF, love them or hate them, their economic stat on the future of AI and the impact of AI was on point. They believe 85 million jobs will be displaced in the next 2 years by 2027. AI displacement is going to happen. Robot displacement is going to happen for many roles. And if you do not embrace AI and change, you will be left behind. That's it. Unless it's in things you work with your hands. It's so important, everybody. And this is just what's coming. And it's not, I'm not being an alarmist here. I'm making people aware of exactly what's coming down the pike real fast at 100 miles an hour, maybe 1,000,000 miles an hour. All right, next question. From AR09, first Sunday question. Woohoo, welcome in. And normally I don't do portfolio reviews, but when there's really young kids out there that are really making a step into learning how to invest and trade, I take the time, because the impact of this learning when you were in your 20s over a lifetime is profound. Time in the market beats everything. Remember that. All right, let's get into this. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being here. And yeah, I don't like portfolio reviews. All right, my portfolio is $40,000, 90% Sol with an average price of 145. That's good. You're in profit now. I think Sol, what is it? It's 175. So you must have gotten in late to the party, but that's okay. Better late than never. 10% is Sui, Zeus, and some other coins. I know I should have more Bitcoin and Tesla. So that awareness right there is very, very important. You know you're overexposed in one asset. You know you need to diversify, and you know you need what to diversify into, which I found this question very interesting. I'm 27, no castle yet, which means no real estate. You can wait on that. You're so young. Don't worry about getting castle till you're 30. and wait for mortgage rates to come down, wait to make a lot more money in the market, and then deploy for your castle. That would be what I would advise. Also, you could invest around 4,000 to 8,000 a month. That's huge. That's a massive, considering your bag is only 40K, you could basically in 20 weeks double your bag if you can do 8K a month. So well done there. You must be making good money somewhere. Should I buy only Tesla or Bitcoin now, or buy with equal amounts? Should I sell Sol to buy Bitcoin? I have the suite of tools. Well done. Or just use DCAs. And do you think it's good to be trading instead of just investing more cash faster with AI tools? So it depends on who you are, how much time you have, and how interested you are in learning the art. So let me share with you a couple of things. First of all, wonderful you're investing so young. Shout out to all the young people. You have an eye for the future. Your allocations are amazingly high, way too heavy in Sol, but you're aware of that, which is good. In terms of timing of where you are, I see Tesla chopping through June. There's a lot of Elon derangement syndrome out there. Literally half the planet has it. So there's no rush. And that's great for us because that gives us more time to stack and rotate. We had huge news regarding crypto. It's going to the moon. So ride that train for now. And then I'll show you a couple of quick charts of how you can use the suite, things you should look at. And let the chart determine your decision-making and your timing. So you need to think in terms of macro timelines and then use the tools to really exercise when and what. Okay, so you know where you need to go. You just need to let the markets decide how you allocate and how much. So first step, I would use the profit taker to exit positions and rotate into Tesla. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, anybody use the profit taker for things like MicroStrategy or the miners, we're absolutely laughing. I remember we had one guy in the UK, I can't remember his name, but he was upset because he sold out of like 60, 70%, 80% of his MicroStrategy when I hit 500. And then he was like, damn, I sold too soon. Well, guess who's laughing now? He is. Well done. So profit taking. This will help you steer rotations, help you get out in scientific layers, and then rotate that money into other assets. So use this, you have it, it's a very powerful tool. Next, use pairs to determine rotation. So you know you need to go into Tesla or MicroStrategy as a proxy for Bitcoin, or it could be IBIT or FBTC or Bitcoin itself, it's up to you. Use IADSS, it'll tell you the macro swing of which pair is most attractive right now. This is the MicroStrategy Tesla pair. It'll tell you MicroStrategy, the green bar, is more attractive than Tesla at this level. So you'd buy, if you're getting, say you're selling 5,000 worth of Solana, you drop that here into MicroStrategy and you write it up. And then you look at this chart again, and then you pull out of MicroStrategy when it gets to a top and you rotate back into Tesla. Simple way to use this one. You can also do the same thing on the ATR model. Again, rotation, different time frame. So this one, I think, I don't know what I was thinking, is 1 hour chart. This is the 12-hour chart or the daily chart, whatever you want. It'll show you very clearly on the pair when to rotate between different assets, clear as day with a very high win rate. All this stuff is back tested, so you'll know exactly what's going to happen. Now, the final point, I think, you do know your concentrations are too high on Sol, but if this SBR happens, from the news we heard today, hold on to that and wait for the rotations to happen, or just take profits on the layers all the way up. And also keep some Sol, because a lot of people are talking about, like Van Eck, $3,000 Sol target. Others have $6,000 Sol target. So again, just like Bitcoin, we don't know how high this stuff is going to go. But if you have time in the market, which you do, never, ever leave an asset entirely. My rule of thumb is always hold. If you are on a winning horse, never sell more than 40 to 60% of it, okay? And that's not a made-up number. That's just from experience. So I hope that helps. Next question, team in focus. I've been holding a MicroStrategy, Tesla, and IBIT in my brokerage account, and I've been selling calls and generating great cash flow. I'm hoping to have a bag large enough to cash flow using this technique and stop working by 2032. You should easily be able to do that. If you've got 20, 30 grand today, you should easily be able to get to your destination by 2028. If you have a process, if you're disciplined. That's how I grew up in the 90s. Covered calls. Now, considering these assets have 10 to 15 explosive up days. We're seeing one of those today, by the way. Wait till the market opens tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. MicroStrategy, CYFRF, all that stuff is going to be insane. Anyway, I've been trading options for years and feel comfortable rolling calls up and out to ride through the explosions. What should I do? How should I do this? This is cool. It's a wise plan, yes, and you can do it. Let me just take the time to explain a roll-up and why it is actually quite lucrative to do. A lot of people are scared by it, but I'll tell you the pitfalls to avoid. So imagine you have a $50 stock or whatever it is on XYZ. I don't have real-time options prices right now because it's the weekend. If it's Monday, I could show you a real example. But you sold a $50 call in XYZ for $2, you dealt 0.4, whatever. Stock rises to 55. Your option is now worth $5. Okay, so a very short time you sell short-term calls. There's very little time value, especially as intrinsic value grows up, time value will shrink. On paper, you've lost $3. Or you could get a call out of your XYZ position. That's the concern. How you roll up is you buy back the $50 call for $5 and you sell the $60 call typically out another month. Imagine the one you're currently in is expiring the end of March. You'd sell the Aprils for XYZ and you get your $2 back. All right. So what you've done here is you have sold something for $2, bought it back for $5, which means you lost $3, and then you sell it for $2 again, which means you're down $1. But the important thing is your underlying has gone from 52 to 62. Oh, I should move my little, get rid of myself for a second. From 52 to 61 because you lost $1. All right. Your break even on the $60 call trade is $62 because you sold it for $2. So I wanted to take a few minutes to explain how that works because it's very, very important to understand the roll up. And yes, rolling up is good, but there's one exception when it's not good. Okay. It's perfectly fine, but watch the mean reversion. Do not get caught rolling up ahead of a big mean reversion. Let me explain with a chart of what that looks like. So here we are. This is Palantir, okay? And I'm going to go through IADSS and all the signals you see. The very first signal that fires at the bottom is the mean reversion. Okay, this is what I mean by try not to sell a call at a top or be worried about a position or buying it back, rolling up on a big mean reversion spike. Then you've got your confidence signal. Goes up there, the red, the confidence signal hits at about 110. But the blue, which is the trend, is still keeping you in the trade. So remember the sequence of events, mean reversion kicks in first. It's like the canary in the mine. It discovers things are very, very overbought. Then your confidence signal will fire a sell, get out. But the trend keeps going up and that keeps you in the trade. And that keeps you until about $123. Then when the trend turns, you exit, you get out. And if you did this on Palantir, so you can see Palantir fell 33%, $41 in just weeks after. But if you had rolled up, imagine you sold the $90 or $100 calls and it shot to 122, 125. Those calls probably be very expensive because of the extreme volatility. You roll them up and you buy them back and then you sell them again and then the price falls 33%. That's when you get hammered. So there comes a time when roll up gets too expensive. You don't do it. Get called out. Wait to re-enter the position or re-enter something else. If you're in a hole, don't get stuck, okay? Because the calls will not save you from the downturn. I'll give you another example from me. I sold the CleanSpark $20 calls for $3. I reduced my credit on CleanSpark to like a credit of $4. But the point was I should have just gotten out of the position, been called out, not rolled up, not sold a covered call, just exited entirely as it's fallen now down to $10 or less. So sometimes just get out of the position. That's what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way. Hope that helps. And this week we donated to Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary. Bob will take us with live questions in a second. I know there's a lot out there and it's an exciting time to support Roxanne. And she's an American badger and she's an orphan. So we're helping her. Thank you. And DCA Live tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Woohoo! It's going to be a banger of a show. We already have an agenda, ladies and gentlemen, and you cannot miss that one. It's so much to talk about around what is real, what is not, where we're going next, and so much more. So with that, don't forget to subscribe if you want to get smarter. And let's get into some questions. Let me see. I should probably make myself big for this so you can see me. All right. Questions. Thank you as well to the moderators in the chat and everybody else, and the team who is harvesting the questions. Max Grease, your buddies. I love this family of ours. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry about what happened to your family yesterday as well. Remember, everybody, wherever you are in the world, crime is on the rise. Do not fragrantly display wealth. I remember traveling across Asia back when I used to do silly things like wear Rolexes and stuff. I don't even own them. But I remember people warning me, if you had your hand out the window of a taxi or a car, there are people in certain nations in Asia that would chop your hand off to get your watch. So do not flagrantly display your wealth. Keep your security locked down. Lock your doors. Make your place look very unwelcoming to thieves. CPK 2001. Is there a Starlink IPO this year? And if so, how would you view Starlink in the portfolio as part of Tesla holding or separate if allocated? This is interesting. So I give a Starlink IPO probably a 25 to 40% chance of happening this year. My exposure to SpaceX is through Neptune Digital. That was my way of getting it. And they have about 18% allocated their fund to not only Solana, Bitcoin, and SpaceX. It's like a perfect little bag of stuff that I like. So I'm very happy in that asset. In terms of SpaceX, they're completely crushing it in terms of putting satellites in the air. Starlink connecting the world. They're completely dominating. Now there's rumors that all the airlines are going to move to Starlink. All the air traffic controllers are moving to Starlink. Everybody's moving to Starlink. Anybody now wants to move off grid with their own solar, their own water well, and their own Starlink. They can now live in the boonies away from the rest of the world. And I trust me on this one. That's going to become much more popular. The crazy off-grid lifestyle is what people will want. They don't want to be in cities anymore. So that's going to come back. And now it's possible. Well, you couldn't do that in the past because of no Starlink, etc. But that's going to come. So I think it's great. I think Tesla is still has the most upside because they have bots and AI. I think of Starlink just as internet connectivity and space and stuff. Unless there's a ton of gold or Bitcoin up on Mars or the moon, maybe that could be an angle, but I don't think so. Thank you, Richard Brad, as well. And Bitcoin Broccoli, dibs on that wallet. It's cute. Doc Intern, for a short 1-year term, what would be a good stock to mix investing with a good risk-reward balance? I was thinking 30% IBIT, 20% MicroStrategy, 50% Tesla. Thanks for NFA. LCEW, lives changed every week. I love that. Thank you, Doc Intern. And thank you, Doc Intern, for being here for the longest time, even through the bear. You made it. You didn't capitulate. So you've got 30% IBIT, 20% MicroStrategy here. Basically, you're 50% Bitcoin proxies and 50% Tesla. My personal goal is to get to 50% Tesla. I am way under that right now. I'm trying to, but my crypto has run too fast, too far, or my crypto proxies as well. So I'm trying to get there. I would scatter in some other assets. You got Tesla, be a bit heavy. MicroStrategy is risky, but it's going to have a great day tomorrow. IBIT is fine, but you definitely are missing maybe some layer 1 crypto and maybe a little bit of NVIDIA, for example. I put maybe 3 to 5% in NVIDIA. I would maybe make 10% Solana and then carve back a little bit of the Tesla. And Tesla, we still have time, I believe, to buy Tesla because the big stuff isn't going to pop until June, July, August of this year. So hold on for that. And then summers can be weak too. So hope that helps. Lido, thanks for what you do. We'd be happy to take your MetaMask. Yeah, I've got to find out exactly if I can remember even to get into it. I don't even know where that is, but yeah, we'll figure it out. I've got to see what's on there, and then we'll do something creative with it for sure. Thank you for your super sticker, Martello45, Cybert, Renato, who are you? Nathan Patton, DBF430, Nick M, Alex Rogan, Dog1, Signal103, B-Man63, SB, Edward U, GQ Trader, Johnny Godcandle, what a great name. And Joe. And one last question from Tommy Twista. If you think the trend will turn, what about selling short-term cover call instead of selling the shares or buying puts? So what I tried to explain there in a long-winded way, Tommy Twista, was sometimes it makes sense to get out of the trade. We've seen that very clearly over the past couple of months. The rate at which the disruptive assets mean revert is scary. So, for example, CleanSpark going to 23, falling all the way back to $8. A covered call will not save you, is my point. So thank you for bringing that up again, because I obviously wasn't clear enough. A covered call for $2 or $3 will not save you. It didn't save me. Sometimes get out of the trade, move on to a faster horse. At the time, it could have exited CleanSpark in the 20s and moved to Tesla in the 160s, 170s. That would have been the trade to do. So think about that, everybody. Cover calls are great. They will generate tons of income for you and help you build your bag slowly, get rich slowly, which is the way to do it. But sometimes when you have a huge explosion, watch. It's better off just get out of the asset than sell a covered call. So with that, everybody, thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Sean. And that's somebody in the chat, too. I'm not referring to any political candidate here at all. And Brandon and Sean Donnelly and K8, TD Tesla. Really appreciate you all for coming. And Forrest M. The Australians are awake. Thank you all. See you tomorrow in DCA. Bye-bye.